Chosen ones, this is your final call. The doors are still open, but they're not going to stay that way forever. What's coming isn't just a shift, it's a reckoning. And if you miss it, it's over. This is not a message for everyone. This is for the ones who have felt something stirring in their spirit. The ones who can't sleep at night because they know something bigger is coming and they're meant to be part of it. If that's you, stop scrolling. This is your moment. God said, this is your last chance now. Not because he's angry, but because he's moving. And he's not slowing down to wait for you to decide. The world is about to change. The frequency is rising. And the ones who've been chosen are being called for the final time. You've felt it. That deep ache in your chest. That voice telling you you were born for more. That whisper that says your time is now. But you've been waiting, hesitating, letting fear make the decisions instead of faith. That ends today. This is not a drill. This is not a feel-good message. This is your wake-up call. You are either stepping into who you were born to be, or you're going to miss the door when it shuts. So stop hiding. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop pretending like your calling isn't real. The enemy isn't afraid of your dreams. He's afraid of the moment you decide to walk in them. This is that moment. Hit that like button to seal this word into your spirit. Subscribe to join thousands of chosen one souls rising all over the world. And comment 777 if your spirit agrees with this truth. That number is no accident. It is the completion of what's been circling for too long. Now listen closely. You weren't chosen because you were perfect. You were chosen because you didn't break. You were chosen because you kept walking even when no one clapped, because you stood when everything around you told you to sit down. And God saw that. He saw the nights you cried and still showed up the next day. He saw the storms you didn't ask for and the faith you held onto anyway. He saw the moments you felt forgotten and still believed. That's why the call is coming again. One more time. And this time, it's not gentle. It's urgent. It's loud. It's divine thunder shaking your life awake. Because here's the truth. What's ahead is not for the faint. This next season is for the ready, the healed, the aligned, and yes, for the broken, who are finally ready to rise. You don't have to feel worthy to be chosen. You just have to say yes. Because what's coming is going to stretch you. It's going to break the version of you that settled, that compromised, that thought survival was enough. This isn't about survival anymore. It's about assignment. There is a shift in the heavens, and your name is echoing through it. There are angels being dispatched with instructions to clear your path, but they're waiting on your response. Say yes. Say yes to the version of you that scares you. Yes to the life you know deep down is possible. Yes to the power you've been sitting on for too long. This is your final warning, but it's also your greatest invitation. Because once this window closes, what's ahead cannot be duplicated. The favor, the anointing, the acceleration, it's all timed. And timing is running out. Look around. The world is loud with chaos. But the chosen ones? We're getting quieter, more focused, more intentional. The ones who move now will walk through doors that won't open again. And the ones who don't? They'll spend the next season watching others step into what they forfeited. You've been hidden long enough. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. God had to keep you low so he could build your roots. But now, the growth is going to be public. The unveiling is about to begin, but only if you step through. Don't confuse the delay with denial. The wait wasn't a no, it was a setup. You had to get crushed so you could carry the weight of what's next. You had to get silent so you could hear the instructions. You had to lose everything that was built on ego, insecurity, or illusion, because what's coming can't be built on sand. This next season, it's for the ones who are real, raw, ready. This is a call for the leaders who never asked to lead, the healers who had to heal themselves first, the warriors who got tired of fighting and became still. You know who you are, and you've been feeling this moment coming your entire life. No more playing small, no more waiting for validation, no more needing confirmation from people who were never assigned to see your value. God sees you, and this message, this is Him saying, you're up. Subscribe if you haven't, because from this point forward, it's about alignment. This is not entertainment. This is elevation. And the ones who are aligned are rising together. This isn't hype. This is holy. Comment 777 if this word was already in your spirit and you just needed a mirror to show it back to you. You know it's true. You can't deny it anymore. Your light is about to cost you, but it's worth it. Some doors are going to shut in your face, that's fine. God's protecting your energy. You're not losing connections, you're shedding dead weight. Some people are going to misread you, let them. You're not here to be understood, you're here to be aligned. And when you step into full alignment with who you really are, heaven will move mountains for you. But don't miss this window. God is still calling, but He won't keep calling forever. This is your last chance. And this time, it's not about blessing, it's about responsibility. You were never chosen just to be comforted. You were chosen to be deployed, assigned, released into a world that is starving for realness, for power, for conviction. This is not the season to be lukewarm. The middle ground is disappearing, and those who still try to stay neutral will get swept away with the noise. Chosen one, you are not here to blend in, you are here to disrupt. The system knows it, the enemy knows it. That's why the pressure has been so high. That's why you felt targeted, isolated, misunderstood. It wasn't about what you were doing, it was about what you carry. The warfare wasn't random, it was strategic. Hell has studied you longer than you've believed in yourself. But they made a mistake. They didn't realize you would survive. They didn't see your silence as strength. They thought the delay meant you were done, not knowing you were only being sharpened in secret. You've been broken open on purpose, so the oil could flow. The anointing on your life is not fragile. It's fire-tested, storm-approved, hell-certified. You didn't get this mantle by accident. It was forged in loss, betrayal, disappointment, and delay. And now, you're standing at the edge of everything you prayed for, fought for, cried for, and the only thing left is your decision. Not everyone will go with you. Not everyone can. Some people were only assigned to your past, not your future. Stop trying to drag yesterday into what God is doing now. What's coming is too sacred for old patterns, too divine for recycled fears, too heavy for shallow connections. Let it go. You were never meant to carry it all. You were meant to carry light, but you've been weighed down by roles that were never yours, expectations that were never real, guilt that was never from God. This is your moment to lay it down, not to give up, but to let go. You don't need closure, you need clarity. The final call is not about perfection, it's about positioning. God isn't waiting for you to get everything right, He's waiting for you to move. The instructions won't come until your feet start walking. Faith doesn't get the blueprint first. It gets the burden, and then it builds anyway. You're not behind, you're not late. You are right on time for a destiny that required delay. You couldn't walk into it as the old you. That's why the pruning hurt so bad, because it had to go deep. You weren't just being cut back, you were being reset. Now is the time to walk in with eyes open, to take authority over the atmosphere, to command what's yours without begging, to stop knocking on doors you've already been given keys to. The door is not locked, you are. And the only thing standing between you and your next level is the belief that you're not ready. But God doesn't call the ready. He calls the real. Real about your pain, real about your fear, real about your faith that keeps shaking but still shows up. That's the one he chooses. Not the polished, not the loud, not the ones who need to be seen. He chooses the ones who stayed quiet when it would have been easier to perform. The ones who kept praying when no one was watching. The ones who lost everything and still chose light. You are the remnant. The last of a generation not swayed by trends, not shaped by approval, not chasing platforms. You were born for more than influence. You were born for impact, and impact comes with isolation. That's why you've had seasons where no one could reach you, where you felt like even your prayers were hitting ceilings. You were not being ignored. You were being sanctified, set apart, prepared for a level of glory that requires secrecy before spotlight. Some things had to fall apart, so you'd stop clinging to survival and start stepping into strategy. This is your final call to lead, not just with words, but with weight. There's a heaviness on your name, not because you're broken, but because you're chosen. People won't understand it. That's fine. It's not for them. It's for the ones still waiting for someone like you to show up and lead. And when you do, the atmosphere shifts. Not because you said something clever, but because you carry something costly. This is the final call for the called ones who didn't ask for the spotlight, but can't keep hiding. The ones who tried to stay small, but kept being pulled into big spaces. The ones who can't explain the fire in their bones, they just know they can't go back to pretending it doesn't exist. You're not being arrogant, you're being awakened. And there is nothing more dangerous to darkness than someone who finally wakes up to their power. So, stand up, not just in the physical, in your mind, in your belief, in your presence. You've played small long enough. You've made yourself relatable long enough. Now it's time to be unapologetically divine. You were never meant to relate to everyone. You were meant to realign them. And yes, some will reject you. That's confirmation. Your anointing is not for comfort. It's for confrontation. It confronts lies. It confronts fear. It confronts every generational curse that thought it could stay hidden. You're the one sent to break the pattern, but you can't break it if you keep living like it's still your portion. This is your moment to step out of agreement with everything that has kept you small. Every lie that says you're too late, too broken, too much, too different. You are exactly what this moment needs. You are the answer to a problem this world forgot it had. Stop doubting what God already confirmed. And if you needed one more sign, this is it. Comment 777 if this word hit different. Not because it's hype, but because it's holy. Because something in your bones knows this is the moment. The door is still open, but you won't need to see it much longer. You'll need to walk through it or miss it. This is the part where excuses die, where fear no longer has a seat at the table, where you stop consulting your trauma before obeying your call. You are not waiting for God anymore. God is waiting on you. You've been asking for confirmation, but deep down, you already know. You've been praying for clarity, but what you really need is courage. The truth is, you don't need another word. You need movement, forward, not back. Into the unknown, not into the comfort zone you keep calling wisdom. Chosen one, The reason the old routines don't satisfy anymore is because they were never meant to. You've outgrown the cage, the people, the patterns, that discomfort you feel. It's not punishment, it's prophecy. It's the sound of old skin peeling off because something greater is trying to emerge. You weren't created for maintenance. You were designed for disruption. The kind of disruption that breaks chains without asking permission. The kind of shift that makes hell nervous every time your feet hit the floor. You don't even realize how much has been depending on your awakening. You think it's just your life on the line, but heaven sees the legacy behind your yes. It was never about just surviving the storm. It was about realizing you times are times the storm. You've been tiptoeing around your own power for too long, afraid of what will change when you actually step into it. But listen, things are supposed to shift. Some people are supposed to leave. Some bridges are meant to burn. Fire doesn't just purify, it directs. Let it. You keep asking why you don't fit in. Maybe it's because you were never made to. You keep wondering why people don't see you. Maybe they're not meant to until God reveals you. Maybe you've been trying to explain to people who only knew a past version of you, while God is birthing something no one's seen before. That's why isolation hits so hard, because revelation can't come in the middle of the noise. God had to take you off the grid to reset your frequency, to remove the static of people who talked loud but never heard you, to detox your spirit from the approval you thought you needed, to get you clean enough to carry this next level of glory. This isn't about being seen, this is about being sent. And when God sends you, the path is rarely paved. The instructions don't come printed. The support doesn't come packaged. The clarity doesn't come before obedience. But the moment you say, yes, heaven moves, not in theory, in real time, atmospheres shift, chains fall, generations pivot, because one soul said yes without needing proof. You've been that close, one decision away from breakthrough, one boundary away from peace, one leap away from legacy. But you keep looking at the wind instead of the word. You keep rehearsing what could go wrong instead of declaring what's already been promised. But your delay won't delay God. What's been written over your life is still valid, even after all the mistakes, even after all the false starts, even after all the times you questioned your worth and disqualified yourself silently. Heaven didn't change its mind. The oil still flows. The call still stands. But this is the moment you have to choose. Choose boldness over comfort, obedience over opinion, alignment over attachment, movement over fear. You've carried everyone else's expectations long enough. You've shrunk yourself in rooms where your power was needed. You've silenced yourself so others wouldn't feel insecure. But that season is over. This is not the time to dim. This is the time to declare. You were born for this moment, not for applause, but for assignment, not for validation, but for impact. And the kind of impact you're about to make doesn't come from fitting in. It comes from being faithful, and faithfulness isn't loud, it's consistent. It looks like praying when no one notices. It looks like building when nothing's going viral. It looks like staying rooted when everything around you is shifting. It looks like showing up when you'd rather disappear. That's what separates the chosen from the crowd. You didn't come this far to almost step in. You didn't endure all that pain just to play it safe. You didn't survive all those storms just to blend in with the background. You were built for glory, and glory requires weight. Glory requires grit. Glory requires the kind of surrender that costs you your image, but births your identity. This is not the time to be cute with your calling. It's time to let go of the image that made you likable and embrace the mantle that makes you undeniable. Because this next level isn't for who you've been pretending to be. It's for the one God created when nobody was watching, the real you, the raw you, the healed but still bleeding you. The one who stayed when others left, the one who forgave without closure, the one who rebuilt after every breakdown, the one who learned how to worship in the ruins. You are the one the enemy hoped wouldn't wake up. You are the one that cycles feared would stay stuck. You are the one that generational curses underestimated. You are the one your bloodline has been waiting on. And now you've heard it. This is your final call to stop waiting for someone to understand what God already confirmed. They weren't in the room when He chose you. They didn't hear the whisper that kept you alive. They don't feel the fire in your bones when you try to stay silent. Stop explaining yourself to people who were never assigned to recognize you. Move anyway. Comment 777 if your spirit is screaming and your excuses are dying. Like this video if you know you've waited long enough. And subscribe if you're ready to walk with the ones who are done playing small. There's a remnant rising, and this is the moment we step out of hiding. No more delays, no more second guessing, no more bargaining with fear. This is the last time you let the old you run the new season. This is the last time you ask for permission to be powerful. This is the last time you apologize for the anointing that makes people uncomfortable. You're not here to be accepted, you're here to be activated. And activation doesn't wait for applause. It doesn't wait for understanding. It doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. It happens in the middle of uncertainty, in the tension between who you were and who you're becoming, in the silence where you finally stop performing and start obeying. Chosen one, you are not under construction, you are under commission. You are not healing just to feel better. You are healing because healed people build holy things. And what you're about to build can't come from a fractured foundation. That's why the breaking had to happen. That's why the shaking wouldn't stop. God wasn't trying to destroy you. He was tearing down everything unstable so you wouldn't collapse under the weight of what's next. This next season is going to demand your full weight. No more part-time obedience. No more half-hearted faith. No more splitting your energy between your calling and your comfort zone. There is no neutral ground left. Either you rise or you watch everything you were meant to do get handed to someone who said yes while you were still saying maybe. You weren't chosen because you were ready. You were chosen because you were time's willing asterisk. And the longer you wait for perfect circumstances, the more you delay miracles that were scheduled for times now. Asterisk. Miracles don't move according to logic. They move according to time's alignment. Asterisk. And you're either aligned with destiny or you're aligned with delay. This is the part where you get real, not with the world, with yourself. Because if you're honest, it's not fear of failure that's held you back. It's fear of being seen. Fear of being responsible for the thing you used to dream about. Fear that if you step fully into your power, there will be no one else to blame if it doesn't work. But what if it does work? What if you've been avoiding the very thing you were created to carry? There is a cost to carrying glory. But there is a greater times cost to denying it. And you've already paid enough in delay. You've already sacrificed enough to fear. You've already surrendered enough years to people-pleasing, perfectionism, and playing small. This is your time to stop shrinking. To stop editing yourself to make others comfortable. To stop waiting for confirmation on a calling that's already been burning in your chest for years. You didn't stumble onto this moment. You were time's summoned Asterisk. And heaven doesn't waste summons. If God has called you, there is something specific on your life that no one else can do. Not better, not faster, not louder, just different, just times yours. Asterisk. And every second you spend trying to imitate someone else is a second you rob the world of what only you can carry. You don't need to become anyone else. You need to become times more times of who you were before the world told you to be less, before you were trained to be palatable, before you learned how to make yourself small so others wouldn't feel threatened, before you buried your brilliance under a personality that kept the peace but cost you your power. Chosen one, this is your final call to disrupt the version of you that played safe. The one who tiptoed around purpose, the one who delayed every decision out of guilt, the one who said, "I'm praying about it," but was really just paralyzed, the one who knew the truth but wasn't ready to live it out loud. That version served its purpose, but it's expired, and you can't drag expired versions of you into this next elevation. If you do, you'll sabotage the blessing, you'll dim the revelation, you'll fumble the alignment, and this moment is too sacred for self-sabotage. There are rooms waiting for your real voice. There are platforms shaking under the weight of your silence. There are assignments stalling because you're still second-guessing your yes. You are the catalyst, the earthquake, the generational interruption. And interruptions are never comfortable, but they're always necessary. That's why you've always felt different, because you times are asterisk, and difference isn't a curse. It's your confirmation. Your weirdness is holy. Your intensity is divine. Your sensitivity is prophetic. The things you were taught to hide were actually the keys to what you're here to unlock. Stop rejecting what God kept alive in you when the world tried to kill it. You weren't preserved to be passive. You weren't protected just to play it safe. You weren't delivered from everything you've been through just to sit in the corner, hoping someone sees you. You are the times evidence, times of favor. You are the times proof, times that purpose wins. And it's time to live like it. You don't owe this world your silence. You owe it your story. And not the curated, filtered version that makes you look impressive. The raw one. The one that still makes your voice shake when you talk about it. The one that makes others believe in hope again because you're still here, and you times shouldn't be. Asterisk. You are not just called, you are chosen to times release times something. A frequency, a sound, a movement, something heaven deposited in you that earth is desperate to experience. And it won't come through your perfection, it will come through your obedience, even when you're afraid, even when you're unsure, even when you feel unqualified, especially then, because God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. And He doesn't use the most polished, He uses the most available. So if you're tired of waiting, that's good. That means you're ready. Ready to stop rehearsing and start responding. Ready to stop hiding behind preparation and start walking in power. This is your moment. Comment 777 if your spirit is moving and your mind can't keep up. Like this video if you know this isn't just a message, it's a mirror. And subscribe now if you're done watching others walk into what was always meant for you. You're not late, but you are being warned. Heaven is calling, and this is your final call. You've spent too long questioning the weight of what you carry, not realizing that the pressure wasn't punishment, it was proof. Proof that what's inside of you cannot be contained in average spaces. Proof that your presence disturbs small atmospheres because your spirit was never built for them. That discomfort you feel when you settle, that's your destiny screaming for air. You're suffocating in structures that were never built to hold your expansion. The reason it doesn't feel right anymore is because you've outgrown the framework. You've been trying to stay loyal to limits that no longer serve your soul, but purpose doesn't make room for comfort. Purpose clears space by force. You are not just shifting, you are shedding. Shedding timelines that no longer resonate. Shedding obligations that guilted you into agreement. Shedding labels that came from people who never saw your fullness. And every layer that falls is revealing something ancient, something holy, something that was buried under years of pretending to be normal, just to survive the rooms you were never meant to belong in. You weren't born to belong. You were born to times become asterisk, to become the interruption to every curse in your lineage, to become the living proof that silence doesn't mean surrender, to become the one they'll talk about when they speak of turning points, divine shifts, and miraculous moments that broke the mold. But you can't become what you won't commit to. This is the moment you stop dating your calling and finally marry it. The moment you stop auditioning for roles God already cast you in. The moment you stop waiting to be discovered and decide to show up whether or not anyone claps. Because you were never made for the crowd. You were made to shift the climate. You've got spiritual authority dripping off of wounds that haven't even scarred yet. You've got divine wisdom coded into your silence. You've got a history with heaven that makes hell tremble when you wake up, and yet you're still asking for signs. Here's your sign. You're still breathing, and breath is currency. Don't spend it on fear. Use it to speak what heaven has placed in you. Use it to rebuild the places inside yourself that trauma left vacant. Use it to release the words that have been burning holes in your chest while you waited for the right moment. This times is the right moment. Not because it feels safe, but because it's sacred. Sacred spaces never feel safe at first. They feel exposed, vulnerable, holy, like you're standing barefoot on ground that was never meant for crowds. And that's exactly what this is the place where the version of you that was built in hiding finally steps into the open, not to be seen, but to be sent. Because what you're about to release has nothing to do with going viral. It's going to break things open, mindsets, systems, bloodlines, and that's why it's taken this long. Because God had to make sure your voice couldn't be bought, that your calling wouldn't be hijacked by culture, that your anointing wouldn't be reduced to a brand. You were never supposed to be popular. You were always meant to be times pure, asterisk, pure in heart, pure in assignment, pure in power, power that doesn't come from connections or credentials, but from a place so deep hell itself couldn't dig it out of you. And now the hour has come, not for announcements, not for celebration, but for release. Release of everything you've stored, release of every word you swallowed, release of every truth you tried to water down so you could stay digestible. You're not called to be digestible, you're called to be undeniable. Your spirit was not crafted to fit their taste. It was forged to set their souls on fire. But fire doesn't negotiate with cold rooms, it just burns. And the ones who are ready will feel it. The ones who were sent to rise with you, they'll recognize it. They'll feel the heat and know that something holy has entered the atmosphere. But none of that happens if you keep silencing yourself. The version of you that's scared to offend cannot go where revival lives. The version of you that still seeks approval cannot carry the weight of glory that's about to drop. The version of you that keeps delaying destiny for convenience will miss what heaven has already unlocked. You're not waiting for an open door. The door is times you. Asterisk. When you move, things shift. When you speak, things shatter. When you show up in the full weight of who you are, unapologetic, unfiltered, unafraid, realms respond. You don't need a platform to be powerful. You don't need a stage to have authority. You don't need permission to operate in the fullness of what God has already confirmed. The confirmation is your time's existence. Asterisk. The evidence is your time's resilience. Asterisk. The fruit is in your time's survival. Asterisk. They thought you'd be gone by now. Silenced, broken, disqualified, but you're still here. And that alone is prophecy. That alone is warfare. That alone is your sign to move like the earth has been waiting for your obedience. Because it has. Comment 777 if your bones are vibrating with truth. Like this video if something cracked open inside you. Subscribe now if you're done standing at the edge of your own promise and you're ready to step in not with hesitation, but with holy audacity. The clock isn't ticking to scare you. It's ticking because heaven runs on alignment, and you've been out of alignment for too long. Not because you were rebellious, but because you were still rehearsing what God already confirmed. It's time to move. And when you move, you will not move like you used to. You won't enter rooms, timid, hoping to be accepted. You won't question if you belong. You won't shrink when your name is called. This time, you're walking in different, not with pride, but with proof. Not with arrogance, but with alignment. Because when God has done what He's done for you, there's no way to stay small and pretend you weren't marked. There's something that happens when a chosen one finally accepts they're chosen. Not in theory, not in language, but in time's embodiment. Asterisk. You start moving different. You start speaking different. You stop needing consensus to make a decision. You stop negotiating with fear before taking a step. You stop asking rooms to validate what heaven already verified in secret. And it shows. It shows in the silence you carry like a sword. It shows in the way you no longer flinch when people misunderstand you. It shows in the way you discern energy before words ever leave mouths. It shows in the way atmospheres bend when you simply enter. You have to understand, the world has not been waiting for someone louder. It's been waiting for someone times clearer. Asterisk. And clarity only comes when you stop being loyal to confusion. The confusion that told you to wait. The confusion that taught you to second-guess divine instruction. The confusion that kept you circling dead spaces out of false peace.